All right, so today we're going to be looking at Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Oh, yeah.
And I think this one's going to be fun because it's sort of like two voices in our head, right?
Yeah.
We've got this concept of Rich Dad versus Poor Dad.
Exactly.
And the book is really structured around this idea of like two mentors
Yeah.
that, one of them is giving you sort of this like traditional advice about money.
Yeah.
And the other one's giving you very unconventional advice about money.
Absolutely. And what's so interesting about this book is that it really challenges conventional wisdom about money and finances.
Yeah.
And it encourages readers to kind of question everything they've been taught
Yeah.
about money and wealth building.
Yeah. So we'll see how this plays out.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be fun to kind of go back and forth, and kind of represent
Yeah.
each of these voices as we're going through the content.
Absolutely. It's going to be a fun little debate, a little tug of war in our minds.
Yeah, exactly. So let's set the stage right. Like, imagine you are at a crossroads and you are trying to figure out, okay, how do I become successful in life?
Yeah.
How do I create wealth or, whatever your goals are?
Right.
And you have, on one side of you, you've got like Poor Dad. And Poor Dad is saying like, look, the way to do this is you
Get a good education.
go to college.
Right. Find a secure job.
You get a secure job. You work for a good company.
Yeah. Climb the corporate ladder. Get those promotions.
Yeah.
Benefits, retirement plan.
The benefits of 401k, the
Yeah,
whole 9 yards.
Exactly.
And that is going to lead you to success.
That's the traditional path to success.
Yeah, that's the traditional path. So then on the other side of you, you have Rich Dad.
Yeah.
And Rich Dad's like, shh, no.
Right.
That is not the way to go at all.
Forget all that.
You need to think about this completely differently.
Yeah. Learn how to build businesses.
Yeah.
Make investments. That's where the real learning happens.
Yeah. So he really, kind of challenges that conventional wisdom about what it takes to actually become successful.
Yeah. And he argues that so many people get stuck in what he calls the rat race.
The rat race. Okay, so fill me in. What is that?
So the rat race is that cycle of working for a paycheck, paying bills,
Okay.
and then just repeating that cycle over and over again and never really getting ahead.
Yeah.
So Rich Dad's philosophy is all about how do you break free from that cycle? How do you build assets that generate passive income?
Okay, so are we talking about like, buying a bunch of real estate and becoming a real estate tycoon overnight?
Not necessarily, although real estate is definitely one of the avenues he talks about.
Okay.
It's really about understanding this fundamental difference between an asset and a liability.
All right, so this is a big idea.
This is huge, yeah.
In Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah, this is fundamental to his philosophy.
Yeah, so, and I imagine Poor Dad would come in and say, well, my house is my biggest asset.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, that's the conventional wisdom.
That's what we're all taught.
Yes.
So how do those two perspectives collide?
Well, Rich Dad would argue that an asset is something that puts money in your pocket,
Okay.
while a liability is something that takes money out of your pocket.
Okay.
So your house, while it might appreciate in value over time, it's also costing you money every single month.
In the form of a mortgage payment, property taxes, all that good stuff.
Maintenance, repairs, you name it.
So a house in Rich Dad's perspective would be a liability.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah, so you're not trading time for money in the same way.
Exactly.
So, and this is where Rich Dad's emphasis on financial literacy really comes in.
Yes.
He's saying it's not just about how much money you make. It's about what you do with that money.
It's about understanding how money works and how to make it work for you.
And I think this is where we would probably get Poor Dad kind of raising an eyebrow a little bit.
Oh, for sure.
Like, wait a minute, what's all this talk about getting rich?
Yeah.
Like, you need to just stick to the tried and true path.
Get a stable job, save your money.
Yeah, find a stable job, save your money.
Yeah.
Don't take too many risks.
Don't rock the boat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, then we would get this like counterpoint from Rich Dad saying like, why not learn how to make your money work harder for you than you are?
Why be limited by just a paycheck?
Yeah. So he's really challenging that traditional view of job security and saying like, actually, by building your own assets, by developing your own financial intelligence.
You're creating your security.
That give you more control over your future.
Absolutely.
Than just, being reliant on one job.
Relying on a single source of income
Yeah.
can be risky.
Okay, so I'm already seeing like two very different paths kind of emerging here.
Definitely.
We've got Poor Dad on one side saying, go to college, get a good job, climb the corporate ladder.
Right.
And then we have Rich Dad on the other side saying, you need to be building assets. You need to be developing your financial intelligence.
Yeah.
And you need to be thinking about money in a completely different way.
And don't be afraid to take some risks.
But what about corporations?
Ah, yes, corporations.
Where do they fit into all of this?
So this is where Rich Dad gets particularly passionate.
Okay.
He argues that corporations, while often demonized, are powerful tools that the wealthy use to their advantage.
Okay, I can hear poor dad now, like, corporations, that sounds risky.
Complicated. You
Complicated.
gotta stay away from that.
Yeah, stay away from that. That's for,
It's big guys.
a big guy's Wall Street.
Yeah.
Not for me.
Exactly.
So how does Rich Dad counter that?
Well, he sees corporations as offering legal protection
Okay.
and significant tax advantages.
So he's saying learn the rules of the game even if you don't always like them.
Exactly.
Okay.
He wouldn't necessarily encourage everyone to start a company,
Oh.
especially if they're not truly passionate about it.
Wait.
But he stresses that understanding how corporations work can have a huge impact on your financial success.
Gotcha. So far we've got poor dad saying, job security, traditional education, play it safe.
Yeah.
Rich Dad is saying build assets, financial literacy.
Yep.
Understand how corporations work.
Even if you don't love them.
Yeah, so it's like two completely different roadmaps here.
Two different philosophies.
Yeah, and I think what's so cool about Rich Dad, Poor Dad is it really forces you to confront your own beliefs about money.
Absolutely.
And say like, okay, which one of these resonates with me more?
It's not about blindly following one dad or the other.
Yeah.
It's about taking what resonates with you and forging your own path.
I like that.
Yeah.
All right, so before we kind of dive into the nitty-gritty of like Rich Dad strategies, I think we need to unpack this idea of working to learn, not for money.
Absolutely.
This seems to be like a core...
It's a fundamental principle for him.
Yeah, so what does he mean by that?
That's a great question, and that's where we'll pick up next.
Okay.
Rich Dad has some pretty unconventional views on education and how to acquire the skills that truly matter.
All right, so let's dive into that.
Let's do it. Welcome back. So we're going to get into some of these Rich Dad strategies.
Yeah, I'm ready to move beyond like theory and stuff and get into like, okay, how do I actually do this?
Actionable steps. Let's do it.
Like, what's the game plan here?
Okay, so he has this great phrase.
Okay.
Mind your own businesses.
Okay, so is that not what I'm already doing when I go to my job every day?
That's where Rich Dad challenges the conventional thinking.
Okay.
He's not talking about your 9 to 5.
Oh, yeah.
He's talking about building your asset column.
Okay, so like those income-generating assets we talked about.
Exactly. Rental properties, dividend stocks, businesses.
Okay, side hustles.
Side hustles, anything that's putting money in your pocket.
Okay.
He suggests, keep your day job for now.
Yeah.
But work on building these assets that eventually will generate enough passive income to replace that paycheck.
So it's like having a financial side hustle in a way.
It is.
It's like something that's working for you.
Exactly.
Even when you're not actively working.
Even while you're sleeping.
Good.
Remember that story we talked about of the McDonald's founder?
Oh, yeah.
His real business wasn't hamburgers. It was the real estate. It was building that asset column.
Gotcha. So he was minding his own business.
He's minding his own business.
By really focusing on that long-term wealth generation.
Long-term income-producing assets.
Okay, so I get that in theory.
Yeah.
But let's say, I don't have a ton of money right now.
Okay.
Where do I even start with that?
That's where Rich Dad's emphasis on financial intelligence comes in.
Okay.
He argues that the opportunities are all around us, but we need to develop the skills to see them.
So it's almost like I'm walking around with blinders on.
Yeah.
And there's all these potential investments and stuff that I'm just not even...
You're not even seeing them.
Yeah, I don't even recognize them as opportunities.
Because you haven't trained yourself to recognize them.
Yeah.
So he would say, there's gold everywhere.
Okay.
Most people are just not trained to see it.
Yeah.
So he really encourages you to constantly be seeking knowledge.
Okay.
Read books, attend seminars, network with people.
So it's like almost expanding your financial vocabulary in a way.
Yes, absolutely.
Understanding how different markets work.
Yeah.
Being able to recognize a good deal when you see it.
Exactly.
Okay. But what about the risk? What if I make a mistake?
Yeah.
What if I lose money?
This is a common fear, and Rich Dad would say that fear is actually one of the biggest obstacles to financial freedom.
Okay.
He reminds us that failure is a part of the process. Even the most successful investors have made mistakes along the way.
I mean, I think about all the entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Like a Henry Ford.
Yeah,
or, an Oprah Winfrey or something.
absolutely.
They didn't just
Yeah.
immediately become successful.
They had setbacks, they had failures.
Right. And they learned from those.
And they learned and they kept going.
Okay.
He tells a great story about Alexander Graham Bell
Okay.
trying to sell his telephone patent
Oh, wow.
for $100,000.
$100,000 for the telephone.
Can you imagine?
That seems like a steal in retrospect.
Oh, absolutely. But Western Union turned him down.
Oh, wow.
They didn't see the value.
Wow. So he faced rejection, but he kept going.
He didn't give up, and that's the kind of tenacity
Yeah.
that Rich Dad encourages.
Okay, so what about somebody who, is very content with their job?
Okay.
They're not necessarily driven to
Yeah.
become super wealthy or anything.
Yeah.
Would Rich Dad still say that they need to be?
He would absolutely argue that everyone, regardless of their income
Yeah.
or their career aspirations, needs to be financially savvy.
Especially in today's world, right?
Especially in today's world with economic uncertainty.
Yeah.
Changes to traditional retirement plans.
Yeah.
Relying solely on a job for security
Yeah.
is riskier than ever.
Okay.
So he would probably say,
Yeah.
build a financial cushion, even if it's small.
Okay.
Have some investments that are supplementing your income
Yeah.
and creating more options for your future.
Okay. I'm convinced now, everybody needs financial literacy.
Absolutely.
But let's go back to those roadblocks we were talking about.
Yeah.
What about cynicism?
Cynicism.
How do we overcome that?
So Rich Dad sees cynicism as a major obstacle
Okay.
to financial success. It's that voice in your head that says, the system's rigged.
Yeah.
Getting rich is only for the lucky few.
I can imagine poor Dad being pretty cynical
Oh, absolutely.
about all this
Yeah.
get-rich stuff.
He'd say it's easier said than done.
Right.
Yeah.
And that can be contagious, that cynicism, right?
It is.
It's easy to get bogged down in that and not even see.
And lose sight of the opportunities.
Yeah. Okay, so what's the antidote to that?
So Rich Dad would say, instead of complaining about the game, learn to play it better.
I like that.
Yeah. So he encourages you to surround yourself with positive, like-minded people. Find mentors. Yeah.
Who have achieved the level of success that you aspire to. So find your rich dad figures, in a way.
Find your rich dads, exactly.
Yeah.
And then on top of seeking knowledge and overcoming cynicism,
Okay.
Rich Dad also emphasizes this idea of paying yourself first.
Paying yourself first, what does that mean?
So it means setting aside
Okay.
a portion of your income
Mm-hmm.
for investing in asset building
Yeah.
before you pay any bills
Before I pay any bill.
or make any other expenditures.
Okay, but what if I'm already
Yeah.
struggling to make ends meet?
So this might require some discipline and some
Yeah.
prioritizing.
Sure.
But Rich Dad argues that this is crucial
Okay.
for building long-term wealth.
So it's almost like treating your financial future as a non-negotiable expense.
Exactly.
Okay.
Like paying rent
Yeah.
or a mortgage.
Gotcha.
You pay yourself first,
Okay.
and then you figure out the rest.
So it's about changing your mindset in a way.
It is. It's a mindset shift. It's about developing a mindset of abundance.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah.
We talked about assets versus liabilities,
Mm-hmm.
minding your own business,
Yes.
overcoming fear, cynicism,
Paying yourself first.
paying yourself first.
It's a lot.
Yeah, and it's clear that Rich Dad's philosophy
Right.
isn't just about
Mm-hmm.
making money. It's
It's a whole new way of thinking
yeah,
about wealth and financial freedom.
yeah, he's really encouraging people to question everything
To challenge the conventional wisdom.
and actually take action.
Right. Take action.
It's not enough to just
No.
know this stuff.
It's not just theory.
You have to actually do it.
You got to put it into practice.
Yeah.
And he doesn't just talk about this in theory.
Yeah.
He shares real-world examples
Yeah.
and personal anecdotes throughout the book.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so relatable, I think.
Yeah.
Because he's not afraid to admit
He's made mistakes.
that he's messed up along the way.
Yeah.
It makes him seem more human.
It does.
Can you give me some of those examples?
Yeah, I'd love to. But first, let's take a quick break.
Go.
When we come back, we'll dive into some of Rich Dad's most memorable investment stories
Right.
and show you how he turns opportunity into profit.
I'm excited to hear those. Okay, so let's hear those stories.
Okay, so one story that really stands out
Yeah.
is where Rich Dad buys this house.
Okay.
And it's a fixer-upper.
Okay.
Most people would look at it and see all the work and expense needed,
Right.
but Rich Dad sees something completely different.
Okay, so what does he see?
He realizes that the property includes
Mm-hmm.
4 extra empty lots.
Oh, wow.
So he didn't just buy a house.
Okay.
He stumbled onto a potential development gold mine.
Wow. So what does he do with the lots?
He sells them to a builder
Okay.
for a hefty profit.
So he turns what seems like an ordinary deal
Right.
into a big financial win.
Exactly, with minimal effort.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
It is, and it just shows how Rich Dad
Yeah.
thinks differently.
Yeah. He sees opportunity where other people just see problems.
Exactly. It's about understanding the true value of an asset.
Okay, that's cool.
Another story he tells is about a time he bought a house during a down market.
Okay.
And he got it for $20,000.
Wow.
Less than the asking price.
So 20,000 under asking.
20,000 under asking.
Okay.
And he was able to turn around and sell it quickly for a $40,000 profit.
Wow, so he tripled his money in a short amount of time.
He did.
Okay.
And it wasn't about luck. It was about understanding market dynamics, using creative financing, being a decisive action taker.
Okay, so it sounds like, these stories are great.
Yeah.
But I'm still trying to figure out, how do I apply this to my own life?
Well, Rich Dad emphasizes that you don't need to be a financial wizard to start building wealth.
Okay.
He encourages readers to master one formula to learn a new one.
Okay. So find a strategy that works for you.
Yes.
And then get really good at it.
Become an expert in your chosen field.
Yeah, like maybe it's real estate. Right. Maybe it's starting a business. Maybe it's investing in the stock market.
Whatever resonates with you.
Yeah.
Focus your energy.
Okay.
Become an expert.
I like that it seems like Rich Dad is really good at breaking down these complex ideas into manageable steps.
Absolutely.
And he's doing it in a way that's relatable.
Yeah. He's not just preaching from a pedestal.
Yeah.
He's sharing his own stories of his successes and failures.
It makes it seem achievable.
It does.
Okay.
He emphasizes that learning from your mistakes is crucial.
Yeah.
And that even setbacks can be valuable learning experiences.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive into Rich Dad, Poor Dad, what's the key takeaway?
I would say the core message is this. Financial freedom is attainable for anyone willing to invest in their financial education, challenge conventional thinking, and take consistent action.
Yeah, you got to actually do it.
You got to do it.
It's not enough to just...
You can't just read the book.
Read the book and sit there.
And hope it happens.
Yeah, you got to take action.
So what are some things that listeners can start doing today?
So I would encourage you to ask yourself, if you could design your ideal life without any financial limitations, what would that look like?
That's a good question.
And then what actions can you take today to start moving closer to that vision?
So it's about having a clear vision and then breaking it down into those steps.
Exactly.
And that's what makes Rich Dad, Poor Dad so powerful. Yeah. It challenges readers to really question their assumptions about money.
Yeah.
And empowers them to take control
of their financial lives.
Well, this has been a fascinating deep dive into the world of personal finance.
I've enjoyed it.
And I think Rich Dad, Poor Dad offers a lot of valuable insights for anyone who's looking to improve their financial situation.
It's a great starting point.
So to all our listeners out there, remember, you have the power.
Yes, you do.
To create the life that you want.
Absolutely.
So go out there and make it happen.
And keep diving deep